Hi guys. So today we're going to be talking to one of Lyo's victims instead of a former member of Senate. So here's their story. We're ready. Welcome, Carmen.
Good. Thank you.
So, first question. Can you describe the circumstances surrounding your interaction with Lyo and how you became a victim of his?
Well, it all started during the immigrant saga. And in the very early days of the immigrant saga, when the incident first happened, simply because, at the time I told as you know, Septiclaws, that when they were acting like, I barely even remember the specific thing that it was, but they were like, being depressed and first off, when Septiclaws was introduced to me, I did not like them. They were very much against me the first time I encountered them. Like, my first interaction with them was them essentially leaving negative comments, which isn't bad in and of itself, like, whatever, people leave negative comments all the time. But the fact that it was something related to, and keep in mind, this is before we found out he was a groomer. This was during the time before the NEAT allegations came out. It was during the time when they were having problems. Ironically enough, in hindsight, over privacy complaints, which resulted in them sort of joining my server and then kind of just, despite, the two of us letting bygones be bygones, they were oddly antagonistic. Though, so obviously that didn't, garner positive reactions from my community. You know, when somebody is antagonistic of everything that I don't want to say, they were just disagreeing. It just seemed like they were trying to have arguments. I don't know how to describe it. But you know, what I mean by that, right? Because you were there,
Yeah, I was there for the immigrant saga.
Yeah, but, so I wasn't very fond of them because they had gone into the server and just had been, not very, very kind to anybody, myself included. Now, I'm not saying that people can't disagree with me. I'm saying that it just seemed like every other, thing had to be some sort of, thing that resulted in infighting. Even getting to the point where one of the members actually requested that they just straight up be banned, which I regret not doing earlier. But basically, there was this point where I think it was a specific argument where then it ended up to where Septi was basically saying that they were going to anti-hero. And I have met manipulative people before. People don't anti-hero because they lost an argument. So, I'm using the word anti-hero because I don't want your video to get, fucked over in the algorithm.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't believe it at the time, and I kind of pointed it out, and then I told them, if you're suffering from something, then you need to go talk to somebody. And this was during the time where Neil was trying to get everyone who had problems with each other to work things out in a separate server. I'm not blaming Neil for this, as I think they were just too optimistic and didn't realize how terminally online Septi was, or how terminally online. How else can I describe it?
Yeah.
But that resulted in, me and Nico Coda having an argument. Well, multiple arguments, actually. And then, suddenly, out of nowhere, this random person named Lyo Convoy is brought up. I don't know, well, I technically did know. They made a video on Prison Mate Luke. That's what I knew them from, so I didn't think and it was and I'm going to need a second lunch after saying this, but it was a video I actually agreed with at the time. But yeah, because I didn't know about this person, I just joined the call and had this conversation, which of course led to a shouting match that went nowhere, and no problems were solved that day. And then Neko Koda started her harassment campaign against me. And yes, I'm going to call it a harassment campaign, because that's what it was.
Exactly.
In fact, so in a way, Lyle Convoy just kind of showed up one day, and now now everyone acts as if he's this prevalent figure who's always been here. No, he was here like once, and then magically, overnight, he seemingly became a part of the... I don't want to say the mainstream commentary, because when people think like mainstream commentary, they think of like Optimus or Destiny or
Keemstar,
Sensitive Society or Critical. I'm talking about the sort of like tier 2 of mainstream commentary, like Jar and stuff like that.
Right.
Suddenly, overnight, he seemingly just kind of came back. And, even years later, even after Septi died and is no longer around anymore, and after it was proven that they were making, basically in a group, and complicit with making NSFW art of CSA victims to harass them, including minors, even though it was proven that Septi and Neko Koda were very much guilty, Lyle Convoy still wants to continue this pointless crusade against me. And at the same time, he's acting as if he didn't support the harassment campaign that Neko Koda started. He's acting as if he didn't play a part in it. Because in his video that's on me but actually is on Nil, he talks about, the campaign against that Neko Koda started, it was garbage. Like, my guy, you co-signed that campaign. You were a part of it.
Yeah.
Like, you see how that doesn't make any sense, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, years later, he's still on this fucking crusade against me. And I've barely talked about him I have talked about him, in my last video, which was, I think, a week or so ago. I'd have to check, but it was a while ago, and I barely mentioned the guy. Since, because I've been trying to move in with a VAP, and I got other shit to do. In fact, the fact that I'm even in this call is kind of a blessing, because I'm trying to, and this is fine, you can keep the call going, it's fine, but I'm trying to get soundproofing for my room, for my side of the room, because it's an apartment, I can't, be too loud.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Next question. What specific actions or behaviors of Lyo led to you becoming a victim of his, and how would you say it impacted you personally?
His specific actions are basically, obviously his co-signing of the harassment campaign that Neko Koda started, and sort of also the fact that he's trying to pretend that he didn't co-sign it when he very clearly did. He's trying to pretend it was a stupid idea, which it was, but he's forgetting the part where he co-signed it, even going so far as, during the controversy, he accused me of pedophilia over the Bella shit. When I told Neko Koda to confront him because that's not true, I'm not a nonce, and Bella sending nudes to people wasn't my fault, it was her having a mental breakdown. No one asked for those pictures, I didn't want those pictures. Yet, Lyle Convoy failed to say that, I wasn't actually a nonce, and he phrased his tweet in such a way where he's not saying it directly, but he's very much implying it, saying, oh, you allowed it to happen. When you hear that, makes it sound like I asked for it. But when I told Neko Koda, hey, you need to, like, tell him to knock it the fuck off, or, like, fix his fucking wording, I didn't even ask her to like, to have him delete the tweet. I just told her, like, hey, you need to get him to correct that, because, because one of the people who called me a nonce, who claimed I was a groomer, was lovely Lena, and people believed it. And I know that because one of the people Lyle doesn't like, Lenoa fan, actively called me a groomer in my comments, and that's one of the reasons I have him blocked. But, that never happened. Lyle Convoy basically doubled down, and when I told Neko Koda, like, okay, so what happened was that when I told her that she needs to ask Lyle Convoy to rectify that she was basically trying to avoid doing it, like saying, you need to talk to him, and it's like, no, I don't. Not. Which, honestly, he wouldn't have done it anyways, and given how he pussies out of calls, like the one he did, like he cowered it out of that call with Kai and the one with Kumo.
Yeah.
I don't think he would be willing to talk to me. It seemed like she was trying to, like, in hindsight, I think she was trying to, like, make it so that I would not, trying to keep that allegation out there. Because obviously later it played into, like, the whole, like, oh, I didn't actually say it excuse, which obviously doesn't work because you implied it. But what I'm saying is that, I think that what she was trying to do is keep that allegation going as, like, a way to keep me, as a way to bait a response out of me. Because I've seen that tactic be used in, like, other situations to force people to respond to drama that, frankly, they don't even need to respond to, or things that shouldn't have been drama. So I remember, and this is probably gonna put me out of some people's favor, but, like, how people started trying to imply that the animator who made that, like, one animation for Verbal Ace was a minor, when no, it wasn't. It was a team of adults.
Yeah.
And basically as a way to get him to respond to the drama when he really didn't need to. So what, he paid for hentai, big whoop. But, on topic, yeah, I think that she was trying to do that, and she probably, and I don't think Lyo Convoy would have, like, retracted his statement, even if Neko Koda saw my side. I think he would have probably just kept going with it. Like, I genuinely do think that, that he would have kept it going. But, yeah, that's one of the ways he did victimize me. Another one he done was the fact that he went after people who knew me, which is one of the things, like, I say, like, he co-signed the Immigrant Saga. Is, like, because he specifically went after people who knew me. People who I considered friends. Try to go after them and tell them, hey, you can't talk to them anymore because they did this. It's like, which is, like, such a fucking cowardly move. Like, what, you go after my friends, but you're not going to talk to me. Or when you do talk to me, you're not going to talk to me. It's like, why am I supposed to talk to you? Why am I expected to talk to you when you can't even confront me directly? Which, Lyle Convoy wasn't willing to talk to me. He was willing to spin his own narrative because he wants to own the dang dirty lolicons.
Yep.
And even, like, nowadays, he's still trying to continue this crusade. He hasn't done a lot now, because most of my friends grew smart and realized that he's full of shit, or always knew he was full of shit. And, so now his tactic is that again, he's like saying, oh, she's dang dirty lolicon. And he's also trying to paint Mushroom Girl as, like, a victim of mine or something, because I said something stupid to her when she was arguing at me in the 10 p.m. at night, and I was tired of her shit. It was like, she's trying to paint Mushroom Girl as a victim, as if, like, bro, she is not the victim. She was a part of of what she defended Neko Koda when she was doxing people. And I know that there's a comment out there on Doodle Tones' video that MG's like, oh, I don't support my videos defending Neko Koda anymore. I was biased. Well, let me tell you, like, how we got to the point where she was biased. Because Mushroomville made a video on me during the Immigrant Saga, talking about that. I haven't seen it, and frankly, I have it saved, though. So, I have everything saved. I will cover that one eventually. But, she released something in relation to the Immigrant Saga, meaning that at the time she was perfectly fine, because to her admission, her tactics, I'll send you the screenshot, like, after the call or sometime later, so you can, like, put it on screen if needed.
Okay,
a screenshot
thanks.
of MG's comment.
Will do.
She told me, not told me, she said that, like, to her admission in that comment, that Lyle Convoy and Neko Koda were using the same tactics that basically were used against me. Yelling at somebody and to intimidate them into, like, admitting a wrongdoing they didn't commit, except for MG, she did commit wrongdoing, but, using the same unfair tactics. And I'm just sitting here like, well, now you're only saying that you don't stand by that, and you're only, like, denouncing Lyle Convoy because now the barrel is pointed at you. You didn't care about Lyle Convoy and his tactics when it was aimed at me. You didn't care when I was at the end of that. Yet now that you're suffering because of Lyle Convoy, now that you're at the other end of him screaming into his microphone, now that you're at the end of the fat man's metaphorical gun, now magically, I think Lyle Convoy is guilty. Only now you're siding against Lyle Convoy, because now it's affecting you negatively. Not when it was affecting me, that darn CarmenRider, or how dare she. No, now that it's affecting you, and it was affecting Neko Koda, it's a problem. Now it becomes a problem, and now it becomes an issue.
Yeah, he's been doing that with me too lately. Like, have you seen that clip of North going into the Senate and Lyle accuses me of defending Lolly Art and Lolicon just because I'm associated with you? Like, I'm not even into that shit.
I don't even think you don't even strike me as a person who would even be into hentai to begin with, let alone Lolicon. But yeah, I did see that clip, and the fact that he's trying to play guilt by association is proof that he doesn't have anything on you, and he knows that he can't counter everything you've said. So he's trying to grasp at straws to find some sort of guilty verdict. He's grasping at straws. He knows you're right, and he can't say that you're right. So he has to find something about you to not like.
Yeah, and I said this in the intro to my last interview with Spooky and her husband, and I plan to say this again in my response to him when he makes one about me, but this is something that a lot of my interviewees who used to be Senate members said that he would do, and quite honestly, if you're going to respond to allegations made against you and you want to disprove them, maybe start by not doing the things you're accused of doing.
Yeah, and also it's the fact that he expects everyone else to either take responsibility or take accountability. Yet when he's confronted with allegations, he asks everyone but himself to defend him. He wants Ephraim to do it, then he gets Slumber to do it, then he gets, which I'll bring up later, I know I'm going to talk about that later. He'll ask Slumber to do it, he asks Neko Koda to do it, I think. He asks other people to do it. He asks everyone to fight his battles for him, except for himself. In fact, let me check something real quick. I'm still going to be on the call, I'm just going to look at a date for something.
Okay.
Specifically a date I uploaded one of my videos.
Is this something I'm gonna have to put on screen in the editing?
Yeah, I'm trying to... Okay, my video... You know my initial video that I talked about, like, the Minhart situation? Oh, justice by hurting our children, unforgivable. You know that video?
Yeah, I remember that.
That was 6 months ago. Now, to my knowledge, Iowa Convoy himself didn't... Well, first of all, he sent people from his little Senate circle to, like, dismiss the video. You want to know, like... But from what I've seen, he only, like, went after those allegations when talking about Kai Weiss in his video, which was 2 months ago. He waited 4 months on something I said. And during that time, he had all of his little Senate members try to fight his battle for him. You know, like Sleepy Rah-Rah, which is a person I did a video on before I started moving out. It's my most recent video. He asks other people to do it for him. Even to the point where Septi was doing it at some point, even though Septi isn't... Even though Lio doesn't like Septi Paws. But, like, yeah, everyone was coming to Lio's rescue, except himself. Meanwhile, when I get into shit, or when people accuse me of shit, I actually talk about it. I actually make videos on it and explain why that other person is wrong. I try to do it as soon as I can. Obviously, there's some people I just can't get to because of the long length of the playlist, which, for those who don't know, the playlist is a list of people I have to cover. Now, it's... Look. As of right now, the playlist is... It's 694 videos long. So, obviously, I can't get to everybody, but... You know, whenever I do, I am faced with serious shit, Immigrant Saga included. I do talk about it. I do address the claims, and I do explain why the other person is wrong, and get the context, and, like, actually put context where it matters. Lyle Convoy doesn't do that. He asks other people to come to his rescue. Because he can't do it, despite trying to frame himself as this intimidating, like being where he literally has to ask artists to draw him buff instead of fat like he actually is. He doesn't respond until, like, the last minute when he realizes he can't ask his Senate goons to do it at the time.
Yeah, that's true. Did you ever... Maybe you've answered this already, but did you ever attempt to address or confront Lio about his actions? And if so, what was his response?
Address, yes. Confront, no. I'm not going to talk to him if he's willing to. Because I'm not going to join Senate again. You think I'm going to join Senate and get yelled at by a bunch of idiots? No, I'm not going to. That's a losing battle. When you join Senate, you don't win, you lose. Not because Lyle was so good at arguing, he's so good at debating. No, you lose because everyone is constantly yelling at you and trying to get you to break. They're not looking for a solution. They're not looking to, like, be proven right. No, they're looking to break you. You know, it's been discussed in, like, previous episodes of, like, I think your series and by other people's admission that, you know, Lyle Convoy purposefully targets people's, like, disabilities, purposefully sets off people's disabilities to get them to have, like, a mental breakdown or to get them to cry so that he can hail himself the winner. I believe, like, many people have said that on, like, this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Or podcast interview series, right?
Whatever you want to call it.
Well, yeah, that's what he does. But yeah, he either never responded to things I said, or he responded poorly, or he responded last minute, or sometimes both, somehow. Like, two of either of those things. Obviously, he got his Senate members to do it for him. It's never him that addresses it. It's all these other people. Which I think is why people don't question anything and just assume that Lyle Convoy is right, because they see all these people on his side and not him defending himself in an honest fashion. It's all these other people who are defending him, and they think that's just what public opinion is. And you don't want to be the outcast in your opinion, because what if your opinion is considered the wrong opinion? I know that sounds stupid, and I know and conspiratorial, but that's just sort of how the human mind works for some people, especially normies.
Yeah. And I saw that in, I think, some of Snarkfield's videos on Senate, where she brought a few messages where they're like, hey, Tommy refuses to talk to Lio. Sorry, I'm getting his and my name mixed up, and it's like, bitch, do you see what happens when people come to talk to you people? No shit, I ain't talking to you.
Yeah, and I was going to save this specific quote for after, but I'm going to say it now. When you join Senate, you are not going to... The people who you are talking to are not arguing with you. They are socially engineering you. They are not arguing with you. They are not debating you. They are not getting your side of the story. They are there to social engineer you into becoming what they want or doing what they want. Whether that be making you cry or turning you into another Senate goon, that is what they are there to do. They are there to social engineer you. They are not debaters. They are not ones who are arguing. They are not there to help you or get your side of the story. They are there to socially engineer you to get what they want out of you. Whether that be a reaction, and a false admission of guilt, or just an admission of guilt, or to become one of them, that is what they are there for.
Yeah, and I can't wait for Lio or his lackeys to say, hey, whoa, isn't that too much? That you're being uncharitable. And then I pull out tons of psychology studies and references that say, are you sure about that? Anyway.
Yeah, Lio Convoy does not no psychology. Also, this is going to... Okay, I know this is... I probably shouldn't say this here, but I'm going to do it anyways. I found another thing that the Immigrant Saga taught me. Literally anyone can be a therapist. Nowadays, literally anyone can be a therapist. Don't get me wrong, there are good therapists, but literally anyone can be a therapist nowadays, because it's one of those jobs that people realized you don't have to do much to get. Knowing that, because keep in mind, even after everything that has been said nowadays, you want to know what Neko Koda is doing right now?
What?
They are working at an An-Hero hotline in Canada. Keep that in mind. They are working at an An-Hero hotline in Canada after they doxed a child and threatened to call their abusive parents to tell them what they'd been doing after everything during the Immigrant Saga, after it was exposed that she was saying things like, cyberbullying's not real, turn off your computer. Yeah, I remember that from the Doodle Tones video. And after everything I've been through, they let this woman into a An-Hero hotline. I want you to think about that. And when I say you, I do mean you, but I also mean people watching.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Next, are therapists who do care. I used to have a mental health person that did care. I don't work with him anymore, or not because of anything bad happening, but I did know him, and he did care, and he did do a good job, and I do care about him a lot. I'm not going to say who he is because of confidentiality, but, there are people who care. But do keep in mind that therapy is one of those jobs that anyone can do. Because if Neko Koda can get behind a phone and tell people they're not An-Hero, Echo Coda, the person who's done all these things, think about how many terrible people can just go into a therapist's office and just get a job there. I want you to think about that. I mean, like, you and, like, the audience. That's what I mean by you.
Yeah, I know. It's really rich for her, but anyway, next question. And maybe this is a silly one, but I'm asking anyway. How do you cope with the aftermath of your victimization by Lio, and did you ever seek support or assistance from others?
I just kind of... During the Immigrant Saga, I assume you mean the Immigrant Saga, so...
Yeah.
In this case, it would be the Immigrant Saga. I just kind of stayed off the internet for a while. Not like ate off the internet, like obviously I physically can't do much to Lio Convoy things. Yeah, that's another thing. Lio Convoy and also Dual Tones thinks that taking accountability means like getting off the internet permanently. No. That's not what that means. If anything, bad actors aren't going to bad actors aren't going to learn from getting off the internet. It just means that they're just going to have to learn how to hide their shit better. But what I was saying is that I just kind of didn't log in. I didn't log into, like, my CarmenRider account. I do have, like, a personal account under a different name. I don't want to say what it is because I don't really upload there. I just use it for, like, liking and just normal YouTube stuff, where the CarmenRider channel is just for actual videos. But, I just kind of just didn't interact. In fact, I didn't I didn't log into YouTube. I would sometimes check the comments like once every while, but not a lot. I stayed on the internet. I didn't log into YouTube. I even had to ask some people to just stop sending me videos on me sometimes because, I wanted to clear my head before I make a response or anything like that.
Yeah.
And some of my friends did side with me or understand that I wasn't guilty, like Red, obviously my girlfriend, and a few others. But a good amount of people backstabbed me and sided with Lio Convoy.
Yeah, like Ephraim.
People who... Yeah, like Ephraim, and it's funny because Ephraim is now accused of stuff, and not only am I the one covering it, but even Gilded Proof is covering it from what I heard. I don't know, I saw it premiere. But, there's also other people who backstab me. I don't want to say too many specific names because these people did apologize to me. Like, I'm thinking of one, but that person did apologize to me. I'm not going to say who they are. But there's also people who did backstab me who either apologized to me and I don't give a shit about, and another one who apologized to me and now I don't care about exposing, and then another person who didn't apologize and just kind of backstabbed me and just kind of left it at that and only apologized like later when they got in trouble. The first one being Acri or Edge. I should have taken Edge backstabbing me and taken that as a sign that they would have been fucked up. Because I haven't said this in a video because at the time it really kind of fucked me up, and it really hurt me whenever this happened, whenever I found this out. So I was going to make a video, but I didn't want to. It was found out that, CG or Controversial Opinions was a groomer, and Acri was withholding evidence that proved that she was a groomer, and because he wanted to receive sexual favors from her, and that's why he's exiled from my community and why he's no longer welcome. And that's also why the artwork and animation for Virgo Can I Really Be a Hero, which is my comic currently, is being done by VAP and not Controversial Opinions. But yeah, I should have taken Edge being a fair weather friend as a sign that I don't need to bring him back to my community. He can fuck off permanently. And frankly, I probably should have just dropped him then. I say that in hindsight, of course, but now even thinking about it, it's like, you're gonna trust a guy who records CSA and, like, pay for evidence and, like, who keeps all these bad actors around even after they've misdeeded? You're gonna side with that guy, but not me? Somebody who actively, like, keeps groomers out? Because I've had to kick bad actors out of my community. I kicked out Studio Meeting More. I kicked out Necopon. I've kicked out a bunch of other, and, well, not really a bunch, but, you know, CG, and I recently had to kick out Conundrum or Cobra Commander because he was being gross with minors. I had to kick all those people out, and because they were groomers. Yet Lyle Convoy keeps these people around until it's, like, no longer convenient for him. Because Coyote Lovely was acting sussy with zoophiles way before Sappho, as said in my video, Triple Sneedening. But yeah, the fact that Acri didn't believe me over, like, Lyle Convoy proves that he really didn't care. He really didn't care about me. He says he did, and he acts like he does. He didn't. He didn't care about me. He just did. He saw me to a means to an end. And that's it. As in the second person, the person who didn't apologize till last minute, until after, like, he realized he had no one to turn to, was Asus, or Mr. Asus. I have a bone to pick with Mr. Asus because of that. Now, I will say this, like, you do know of, like, the post where he said that he was going to work for Cosmodor, right?
Oh, I remember that shindig.
Yeah. Initially, I didn't really want to say anything about it. Don't get me wrong, I didn't support it, and I didn't want to, like, say, like, oh, good luck out there, be sure to get that job. Like, no, I just said literally why. And initially what I thought was going to happen is that he would get that job, and then, like, Cosmodor would get in trouble again, and he would get caught in the controversy as well, and he would learn his lesson that way. Looking back, I really shouldn't have gone about it that way. Not just because Cosmodor would later, like, get banned finally, but simply due to the fact that I probably should have just told him off about it. And then afterwards, you know, of course, for a while, Asus backstabbed me and sided with Septipons. Which, by the way, they had a very close relationship with Septipons. I have a folder that has a piece of artwork that Septi made of him, or, I don't care, they're a fucking sex pest. Him and Asus, like, being intimate. So, needless to say that, Asus and Septi had a certain connection, and that's why they didn't, they didn't side with me properly. But also, it wasn't until I announced that I, like, brought up his dirty laundry because, you know, I figured, you know what, Asus, he's not talking to me. He's not willing to say sorry. So, you know what, why even bother? So, like, and at first I didn't remember it, but when I later remembered it, I kind of just sort of didn't really think about it too much. Thinking, you know what, maybe, like, once Asus apologizes, maybe me and him can talk about it. Of course that didn't happen. Ace never apologized, he never came back. So I figured, you know what, time to air out this dirty laundry. 3. If you're not going to talk to me, I'm going to make you talk to me. Which is very petty, but you know what, I'm glad I did. Because frankly, even though it was out of spite, I think probably people should have known. And like I said, I will admit it probably was stupid of me to hold on to that. And probably stupid of me to even try to imply that I forgave him at all. Or that I would forgive him at all. I don't know. I don't think I shouldn't have done that. And obviously, I don't forgive him, and no one in the observatory does anymore. Because, like, after that call that seemingly went very well, after that happened, you know, he had a tantrum and said, I don't want it. And said, like, you know, like, how dare you, like, have this call, and I can't believe you did this. And it's like, bro, that went so well, and you just ruined it. Because you thought about it after the fact. So yeah, I don't like Aces. He later reached out to me recently and tried to apologize and say that the reason he acted that way was because in the community he was in, he was with a he found out that somebody he liked became a groomer or something, which, you know, I do believe that grooming probably did happen because it was like an announcement and a server that I don't recognize. But I don't believe that's why Asus left me. I think they were being petty and that Septi told them to cut me off. I genuinely believe that that's what happened.
That's definitely plausible.
As a result, in fact, they're talking towards me. It sounded very gaslighty. Like, it sounded less like he was trying to make up or make, like, less that he was trying to fix things and more trying to convince me it wasn't a big deal. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the people who backstab me and I don't forgive. Oh, and, well, never mind. I was going to say another person, but I forgot. But yeah, I don't care if I air out Acre's dirty laundry, and I don't care if I air out Asus's dirty laundry. Though I will say this, Acre owes me in VAT money. Acre owes me in VAT money. They said that they would work to help me and her get, like, a place to live financially, that they were getting, like, odd jobs to help us. I forgot to ask when I cut them off, but I'm going to say this right now. Once we get that car, once me and Fap get that car, we are going to find an Acre. And we are going to knock on the door until they fork over that money. But you're gonna make money for the two of us, and you're just gonna go and spend it like nothing happened when you defended a groomer? No, I want it. Hand it over. It's like you got handed over.
I'd like to see the body cam footage of that.
Yeah, it's probably gonna have like a phone in hand. It's like, because you know what they're gonna do? Acre's probably just gonna buy another PC with that money and just come under a different name. I wouldn't even be surprised if they found this call and then like under some new account and then said like, hey, it's me, I'm so sorry, or some shit like that. The way that Emp that you hate did when I called him out for denying the fact that he got me kicked out of the YouTube partner program.
Yeah, I can only imagine his reaction to it. But next question: in what ways do you think awareness can be raised about not just Lio himself, but even people who have behaviors like his? And how do you think communities can better protect potential victims of his?
I think that if people just keep making videos on like Lio Convoy calling him out for what he's doing, I think eventually it's gonna get to the point where like the mainstream commentary channels talk about it, like Critical or Mudahar or Optimist or Sense of Society. But the way things are going right now, it's going to reach those people. And as we know from like the Set the Programmer situation and the the Niji Sanji situation, once those like things get out of like the niche community that they're in and reach those YouTubers, they're fucked. I think that's what's going to happen with Lio Convoy now that people are now openly calling him out, all former members and people who have been against him. I think that I think with things that the way that they're going, in, in like with everyone covering it, it's gonna get to the point where Charlie or Mudahar or Optimus or Sensitive Society or Destiny or some other commentary channel, or hell, even Rev and Hero A, if anything, to be honest, is gonna get to the point where like they get a hold of that, and Senate's not gonna be able to stop it, and the Lio convoy is gonna just be gone at that point. And as for like how can communities better protect from protect victims, by doing literally anything that isn't what Senate does. I genuinely believe that Senate, rather than helping victims, that they aren't helping victims. They're not creating victims, but they are harboring victims as a way to like get people on their side. You know, it's like cult behavior. And I know people like throw around like the word like anytime anyone has a big fan base, it's like, oh, it's like a cult. It's like anyone can say that. But I mean, like in this situation, they're gathering like victims and like trying to recruit them as a cult would. You know, like how cults recruit, right? They find people who are like down on their luck, who are going through real bad times. You know, like sad people or depressed people, people who lost a loved one, or the other type of people that cults go after are people who seemingly have talent, like people who are like aspiring writers or screenplay or singers or people who like make movies or stuff like that. And you ever notice that there are two types of people who join Senate? People who are like CSA victims or victims of some sort of grooming or victims in general, and artists and other or YouTuber artists, you know, like Hopeless Peaches. Well, formerly Hopeless Peaches, that she nuked all the platforms because it was discovered she was being icky with minors. But
I actually recently learned that apparently Peaches goes by he, they, which is quite sudden, but whatever.
Oh, so yeah, I heard that they were trying to do what Natty Forsyth did. To that, I have actually a tweet about that. I saw a tweet about that a while ago. Let me see if I can get that. Whether you show this or not is up to you, but I'm gonna put it up anyways because I believe it is this tweet right here that shows that me and other members of the LGBT community, we don't accept Aaron or Peaches into our community. We don't. And frankly, I don't. I think that they're doing what Natty Forsyth is doing and trying to transition to escape the situation. If you don't know who Natty Forsyth is, I made like multiple videos on that person already. But yeah, I am not very kind to Peaches. Also, Lio Convoy, a dead named Asher, so, you know, I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care about what Lio has to say about that regard. You're not gonna give my friends the same respect, then why should I give it to you?
Yeah, Zay actually said this in their video on live when they were talking about that call that you have with Lio where he would constantly misgender you, and then he would be like, oh, if you respect the pronouns of Hitler or the devil, you can do trans people, and Zay's like, what is this, Lio?
Well, that's because, well, that doesn't even make any sense. It's like, I don't respect the pronouns of Hitler. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's a good amount of people who draw Hitler as an anime girl, so no. Plenty of people don't respect the gender of Hitler.
Exactly.
No one does that. I have seen plenty of iterations where Hitler is a cute anime girl to believe that people respect the gender of Hitler, so that's just wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do believe the way that Senate, like, recruits members is like a cult. They find people who are vulnerable, like how Jordan was, or they find people who are talented and that they can convince, like, because what cults will do is that they'll reach out to like people who hold on. Don't worry, I'm okay. They'll reach out to like people who like had like a family member like die, and then they'll say like if it's like a Jehovah's Witness, they'll say like, hey, you have a chance to see your family members again. You just gotta join our group. They reach out to people whose like family members just died, and then they'll recruit them into the cult, giving them false hope. Or like they'll find like aspiring artists or college students, and they'll say like, hey, with your art abilities or your acting abilities or your singing abilities or your music, whatever, or whatever they're recruiting with, with your talents, well, we can give you like a bigger audience and get you like to the top, and you'll be performing in front of a bunch of people who are like with us. They'll do that. That's how they recruit people. And that's how I'm seeing Senate's recruiting people, because there's a lot of members of Senate who are part of the art CC or just artists, and there's a lot of people in Senate who are CSA victims, which tells me that they are reaching out to people like, hey, we got all these like talented artists. Is you want to join them, or like saying like, oh, I'm sorry that person did that to you. Well, we can get vengeance for you.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm thinking. And that's why I say it's cult-like, because they use cult-like strategies. There's other like cult things that they do, like whenever somebody speaks out against them, the members will do everything in their power to sort of shame or shun those people. And there's always the peer pressure to like align with the beliefs that they hold and not question anything. Other cult shit that probably deserves like a video on its own, either from me or from anyone else who wants to take that helm. But yeah, I don't think that Senate is helping victims, and doing literally anything that Senate is doing would help victims more. You could literally, like, ghost somebody, and I think that would help them more than what Senate does.
Yeah.
Because everyone who is, like, Jordan and all those people who were, like, victims that were recruited into Senate to get back at their abusers, all of them left Senate without a positive experience. They were not happy. Jordan is not happy, which is another, like, talking point I found when I called out Lio Convoy for, like, the whole CSA thing, like, recording her CSA, or their CSA, sorry, Jordan's CSA, is that, like, people are like, well, Jordan's, like, they're perfectly happy. Just ask them. And it's like, they are not. They are not happy. They are very anti-Senate now. They are not happy with Lio Convoy. Which, first off, that argument doesn't even work, because I'm pretty sure that's like a map argument. I'm not saying like those people are maps, but that's like a map talking point, like saying like, oh, that person wanted it to happen, so it's okay. It's like, no, they're a minor. They don't have the mental capacity to make that decision. And it's like, and it gets to the point, and then like, their one of their few excuses is like finally like taken away now. But yeah, Senate isn't made to help people, and just talking about it probably can help like spread awareness, and eventually it's gonna get to like Mudahar, optimist, or critical, or sensitive society, and then suddenly it's gonna get to a point where where they can't continue to ignore it, and it's going to get to the point where Lio Convoy's initial tactics aren't going to work anymore. Because those YouTubers make a lot, and Budahara has confirmed that he does have lawyers, as told by the what's his name? The completionist situation. So yeah, Buddha does have lawyers, so, yeah, if Lio starts doxing people, they're fucked.
Yeah.
Or he is fucked, rather.
Yeah, I agree. Second to last question. Is there anything else you would like to share about your experience, or any message you would like to convey to others who may be vulnerable to similar forms of exploitation or abuse or anything like that?
Just like in regards to my experiences, the fact that Senate really like implies like Fed tactics, like you know what I'm talking about, like Fed, like like glowy tactics, like where the stereotype of like people from the FBI going on Twitter and like trying to rile up extremist groups so that they could swoop in and stop them and pretend to be the good guy.
Yeah.
That's the kind of like stuff Senate like employs is in regards to like get into like shutting people up. Is that they will do dirty tactics. Like, okay, I did tell you about this, and this happened to Asher, I believe, on one of his streams. But there's somebody going around and trying to like ban people's streams. Like there's somebody in Senate who's going around trying to get people's streams banned. And okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Somebody is going into chats and doxing Lyle Convoy. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but like what I think is going on is that now everyone who has been against Senate is very anti-doxing, myself included. Don't dox people. That's bad. You don't dox people.
Me too.
However, Senate is very pro-doxing. They like to get information from people so that they can call people's schools or try to get people swatted, because I heard that Kumo got swatted apparently. Or try to like ruin basically try to fuck with people's lives and people's family. So, God, drawing the blank. And it's also been proven that Lyle Convoy doesn't really care about his personal information. Now, I'm not saying you should dox him. Don't do that. I'm not condoning that. Don't do that. If you do that, you're no better than him. Don't do that. But he's given out his first and last name to like Fluffy Turbo, if you remember from that one jar call. Meaning that he doesn't really care that much if people have his information. And why should he? The guy owns a gun, apparently. So what I think is going on is that this person isn't rather somebody from, this Lyle Convoy. It's rather somebody who is probably a Senate supporter, and what they're doing is posting his address into people's chats in order to get the stream banned, or to get these people banned in order to silence them. That's what I think's going on. Because, like, what?
I just said, ah.
Oh, okay. That's what I think is being employed. Because, like, there have been times where viewer engagement has, like, gotten people's, like, stream bans. For example, there was, like, an AI Family Guy thing where somebody submitted, like, bomb instructions to get the stream banned. And then there was also, like, a time where somebody who was a streamer I know who was covering the Niji Sanji situation was actually getting bot followed on Twitch, which is a way that people run others to get them banned. Or, just the practice of swatting, because, like, when people get swatted, it's also to probably get the stream banned, because, on the footage, it's a bunch of people, like, with guns and, stuff like that, because the SWAT team's there, they're about to shoot somebody, or whatever, and, and obviously Twitch is going to see that, and they're going to go, like, oh, yeah, you can't show that, that's violent content, and then they delete the stream, or ban the streamer. So I think that's the kind of tactics that they're doing. And they're trying to dox people in order to get the stream banned. It's Lio to get the stream banned. And when people are, like, pointing out these doxers, they can point at, like, anti-Senate people, like myself and you, and say, like, oh, look, this group is doing the doxing, and they're doxing Lio Convoy in the chat. Look at what they're doing. Because if they're doxing, like, you or me or anyone who isn't Senate, then it's then, it looks bad on Senate. It's like, oh, Senate's doxing people in chats. You can't do that. But no, but if you're doing it with Lyle Convoy, now the Senate people have ammunition. They can then fire at us and pin that all on us when we've been very vocal about, like, no doxing. It's not okay. And, and it isn't. Doxing is not okay. You shouldn't do that. And that's what I think is happening, and that they're trying to silence you. And the fact that Lyle Convoy doesn't have a real argument against you, it shouldn't be surprising that he's employing these tactics. Again, this is just a theory. This is just a conspiracy theory. This is just what my viewpoint. Of course, maybe there is just a crazy doxer who just happens to target people who Lyle doesn't like, and just happens to target people who are against doxing. But who knows? Really, who knows? Just something to think about, I think.
Yeah. You want to hear something strange?
Sure, go ahead.
That same person who was doxing Lio, this person in that same chat, they asked me if they think they should send Lio a Talmud, which is odd.
A what?
A Talmud. You don't know what that is?
I don't know what a Talmud is.
So the Talmud in Judaism is said to be the second holiest book next to the Torah.
Okay, yeah, I'm not Jewish. I wouldn't know what that is, but that's weird. Like, I mean, I've seen people who are like, yeah, that's weird. This is really weird. I don't know any explanation about that, other than somebody trolling to pretend to be Jewish, but I don't see, like, why somebody would do that. Unless they were, like, trying to, like, set it up, like, where they could theoretically intimidate Lio Convoy, like, so Lio Convoy could tweet, somebody just sent me, like, a Talmud in the mail, and just coincidentally, after this comment was made. That's the only thing I can possibly think of, but, like, yeah, that's weird. It's weird, I didn't see that. I just saw that they were doxing Lio Convoy in chats, and, trying to get stream banned.
Yeah, you were one of the people who DM'd me about it, and I was like, okay, I'm at the store, I'll disable the chat when I get home.
Yeah, that's why I said, like, you gotta disable the chat, because I had a feeling what they were doing, and I didn't want you taking down the video, because that would be giving them what they want. Rather just get rid of that one section, that one problematic piece, because I don't think a lot would be lost on the chat, right? Because if somebody had something really important to say that was in the chat, they could just leave a comment, unlike the video. But as for comments, if somebody's, like, typing out addresses, you could just add the address to the list of blocked words in the comments. Because, comments are a bit more manageable than, like, chat is. So, like, I don't think much is lost if you disable the chat, but if you do, then you should explain
Yeah, I actually did bring it up in that follow-up video. I don't know if you've seen this, but I brought that up.
I think I did. It's been a bit of a minute since I have. By the way, I'm going to be right back real quick. I'm just going to be quick.
Okay. I may not be monetized, but I guess I could say we'll be back after these messages.
Hello. Thank you. Hoo-hoo. Ho-ho.
Okay,
we're back.
But yeah, I do believe that I do believe that doxing was done by a Senate member, and I do think it's done to silence critics while also being able to point at non-existent bad actors. There's a futile attempt to fling mud at the other group.
Yeah, I agree. Last question. what advice would you give to others who may find themselves in similar situations with Lio or people like him?
As I said, like, just don't join the Senate. That's really what I have to say. Like, if you're going to, like, conversate with, like, somebody who's willing to use dirty tactics, you better do it in, like, a place where everyone can see. Because that's another thing that's also a thing I learned from Septi, is that if somebody is, like, confronting you in DMs instead of, like, a comment or, like, something public that you can respond on, they're doing it, it's because if they're doing it in, like, a place that isn't public and something you can respond on, they're going to, like, argue in bad faith. The sort of debate me in DMs, like, no, you don't get a debate in DMs. You debate somebody in a public space where other people can see. Because at that point, so people know that you're not being dishonest. And, but yeah, that is one thing that I want to say that I do want to say about people who find themselves in similar situations. If that's the last question, I do have, like, one more thing to say. I'll try to keep it brief, but there is one more point I kind of want to make. It's mostly related to the Immigrant Saga, but it is related to Lyle Convoy to an extent.
Okay.
One thing that really irks me, now I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not saying that the people who are covering the situation are bad people. I'm not saying that. But one thing that irks me is that during the Immigrant Saga, I was pointing out a lot of these things. A lot of, like, some of these things that were going on in Senate. But there was a lot I was pointing out later on when Septi was finally, like, stepping back for once. There was a lot of these things I was pointing out. A lot of things that were going on in Sunday. In the initial Neko Coda didn't tell the full story video, I literally bring up Mintheart, or Jordan. I brought that person up, and I brought all these situations up very early on. The thing with Ephraim, which, by the way, Slumber conveniently took down her response to me, conveniently after I announced that I was going to release the call that me and the Observatory had with her. So I find that very telling that she took it down as soon as like I said I was going to release the call, almost as if she had something to hide. Little does she know I have it downloaded, so she's fucked. But what I was saying is that I was talking about some of this stuff very, very early on. And not many people listened. The majority didn't listen. No one paid attention. Well, seemingly nobody. There are some people who listen, but not a lot of people. But now that the Immigrant Saga is over and other people are talking about it, now we're talking about Mintheart. Not when I brought it up and Neko Coda didn't tell the full story. Not when I announced that. Not when, like, I was talking about this stuff early on. Not when I discovered the stuff with Ephraim in the past. No. People are only now talking about it. And now people are listening. And that kind of irks me. That people didn't listen to me. They didn't hear what I had to say. But now everyone's listened. Now everyone's heard the story. Oh, Lyle Convoy recorded CSA of Jordan for evidence? Oh, Ephraim is saying sussy things to minors and some people are, like, defending him? Oh, Blaze the movie fan is also kind of sus in his own right? Now we know. Not when I talked about it. No, not when I talked about it. It's when everyone else talks about it. Oh, I don't want to hold any, like, bad faith towards Gilded Pooh or even Kumo, even after what he did to me. I'm not going to hold any bad faith. Like, Lyle Convoy is objectively worse than the both of us. But, I will say, it's kind of funny how no one listened when I broke the news. But when other people talk about it, it becomes the new norm. It becomes the new public opinion. Kind of weird how that works. And that's what irks me about this. Is that I told the story first, yet no one listens until somebody else says it. But yeah, that's the last thing I wanted to say in that regards.
Alright. Thanks for coming on, Carmen.
No problem. Thanks for having me.